All right, let's go over the installation process for the Fleck 5600 SXT air injection system. We're going to go over what you just received. Everything comes in two boxes here, two packages. The first package is a smaller package. It'll have the control valve. Of course, that's the Fleck 5600 SXT set up for air injection. Inside that box, you will also have a few parts here. There's going to be an installation manual there, a piece of paper showing you in writing how to install. It's going to come with a bypass with male threads there. We're going to show you how that all connects. It's going to come, this is called the upper deflector, and then you're going to have a drain barb as well, and of course the transformer and electrical cord are attached to the Fleck 5600 SXT already. That's going to be in the smaller box. And then of course the bigger, heavier box is your mineral tank, and it does have a base there. Sometimes it does get adjusted during shipping, so you can just lift up on that tank and tap that base around on the ground to straighten it up if it's not standing up straight up and down. So it is an adjustable base there. So that's what the two packages will be. The mineral tank with the media inside it already. Sometimes, other times that you're gonna have to load it, and we're gonna go over all of that as well. So one box is the mineral tank with the media, partially loaded or all the way loaded, and then the smaller parts here. Some things that you will need to have for the installation. You'll need to have, a few hand tools here, just screwdrivers and whatnot, maybe a nut driver. You're gonna need some lubrication of some sort. If you don't have something, just remember it's for potable water. So cooking oil works well. So that you'll need some Teflon tape, and then you will need to provide your own drain line. This is 1/2 inch ID drain line. This is a flexible but rigid tube, which is a good idea to use for the drain, and then a little hose clamp on that. I'll show you how, of course, all that goes together. Then you do need to connect it with those male threads on the bypass there. You will need to connect that to your plumbing. We're going to show you using just some installation hoses. These are flexible lines. There's different variations to those, but we're going to show you the installation with those. Of course, you need to provide those, or however you connect. You can hard pipe it in or whatever you want, but we're going to use the flexible lines for our demonstration here as well. If your filter does not come completely loaded, we will ship a funnel that is designed to load the media. So that could also come in your shipment as well. If you didn't get a funnel, that means it's already preloaded in the tank for you already. The first thing we're gonna do is connect the bypass and yoke to the control valve. So you see the back of the 5600 SXT. This is all used with O-rings and clips and screws here. So you see the O-rings, there's a couple of them here, and then there's a couple of them right here. So we want to make sure we're lubing those up with lubrication. Again, we're showing just a little pack of lubrication that's made for this, but cooking oil works great. So what we want to do is make sure we loosen these screws up a little bit, then lubricate those, push that together on both of those, the yoke to the bypass and the bypass to the back of the control valve here. And then you just snug these screws up, make sure they're encompassing the entire area here from where that clip goes there to where it attaches here. Now when you tighten those screws, do not over tighten. Again, do not over tighten those. This is just a plastic housing here, so you do not need to tighten those up too much. The tendency is to really crank those down. All it needs to do is hold that clip on against there snug, and that just keeps it from separating from the O-ring seal there. So we're gonna put that together here, and we'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So to tighten those screws, you can use either a 1/4 inch nut driver or a flathead screwdriver, just in case you're wondering what to use there. But that's how it is. So you will see there's a little bit of play in there because the O-ring seals, that's designed that way. Not a lot of play, but a little bit of play there. For those of you that hard pipe it in and stuff, there's a little bit of wiggle room there. You definitely don't want the plumbing pushing up or pulling down. We'll cover that later. But the next thing we're gonna do is install the drain barb. We went ahead and put the Teflon tape on there, and then we're just going to thread it right into this slot here. You'll see, and you do not need to tighten that. Don't over tighten that, as it is just plastic on plastic. So you install that, finger tighten it, maybe just a little bit of turning with a wrench possibly to snug it up, but definitely do not over tighten that, as that is a plastic drain bar with a plastic housing. The Teflon tape will hold the water back. Like I already said, sometimes, many times, the tank is already filled up with media inside there. This tank empty is only about 5 pounds. So if it's got any weight to it at all, it's already at least partially loaded with media. If you do have extra media there, you just need to load it up in there. We send this funnel, it's a largemouth funnel, to help on the convenience of loading that media. One key step you want to do is make sure you cover this riser tube, just eliminating lots of media getting down there. It's not a huge issue, but definitely don't want to fill that up with media. So before you put the funnel on top of that tank there, just make sure you stuff a rag down in there sometimes, or just some little bit of tape there to cover that, to make sure you're not dumping a bunch of media in there. And then just put the funnel over top, load the media into the tank, and then when you're done, whatever media you have, just again, make sure you remove the rag or the tape. You don't want that blocked there before you hand tighten the valve onto the tank. The mineral tank ships with a cap on it. You'll see that it just threads off. And so you can go ahead and take that cap off, and you'll see this is called the riser tube. And so the only thing we do with the riser tube is we have, what is that upper deflector there? It looks like an umbrella piece. It's going to slide over that riser tube down into the tank, only about 6 inches down. It is not an exact science there, so don't worry, 5, 7 inches, but get it about 6 inches down, push it down there after you slide that on over the riser tube, push it down about 6 inches, and then we're going to attach the control valve to the top. You will see the bottom of the control valve has a very large O-ring here. We want to make sure we lube that up really well. That's what's going to hold the water back. It is not, we're going to talk about it as we tighten it on there, but do not over tighten the control valve onto the tank. Lube up that O-ring, hand tighten it snug, maybe like a 2-year-old could tighten it. And you don't need to crank down. Don't grab it by the end of the bypass and really crank down on it to tighten it up real good. That O-ring will hold the water back. Just lube it up with some cooking oil or whatever lubrication that's appropriate for potable water. And we're just gonna thread that on to the tank, keeping in mind there is another center hole here, and there's a large O-ring in there as well. And that's where the riser tube, just make sure the riser tube is centered on the control valve. And then you can just hand tighten that on there onto the tank with those threads, just centering up that riser tube on the bottom of the valve and hand tightening that onto the tank. Again, don't over tighten that, just like a 2-year-old could tighten it up. Now that we have the control valve onto the tank, we're gonna connect our main water lines here. We're using, again, flexible hoses here to show you. One reason why we use those is, one, you know, hard pipe, you gotta get it, you know, really close to the exact right height. And the other reason is there's a rubber or plastic washer in these, if you can see that in there, that can really help hold the water back. It's easy to get the watertight seal onto the yoke with those hoses there. So that's what we like to do. Again, this is, you want to pay close attention. You can see underneath the drain barb, there is an arrow here. That is the arrow, the direction of the water. You can see one on each side. So you definitely want to make sure you hook this up correctly. Your main water supply coming in from the city or from your well pump would be on this side. On the right-hand side, if you were facing the front of the control valve, it is the right side, but just pay close attention to that arrow on the bypass that's showing the direction of the water flow. So water's flowing into the filter this way and out to the rest of the house on the other side. So make sure you install that correctly. We did already put Teflon tape on our male threads here for the bypass connection, and use the female threaded onto the male threads of that yoke. As you install the main water coming in and out, make sure that the plumbing is not pushing up or pulling down or twisting this bypass here. So you want to make sure it's a straight run, which is again why we use the flexible lines. That certainly helps with that. But just keeping in mind that you do not want the plumbing pushing up or pulling down on that bypass there, as those O-ring seals could leak that way. So just straight across, making sure it's installed level. Now that we have the water in and the water out connected, we're going to attach the drain line to the drain barb here. Again, we recommend a flexible hose with a hose clamp. You just fit that over the drain barb and then snug up that hose clamp. Do not over tighten. Drain barb is obviously plastic, so you don't need to over tighten it, but definitely get that pushed on there. And with the hose clamp is a one good way to do that. The other end of the drain line needs to be connected to a drain that's at least 1.5 inches in diameter. So that drain line connected to the back of the valve there coming out goes to a drain at least 1.5 inches in diameter. Make sure you have an air gap there. Secure that drain line as the water will come out under pressure there, so it can move around a little bit. So make sure you have an air gap, strap that in there as it will come out under pressure. But that drain line does need to be at least 1.5 inches in diameter, and it does need an air gap there to allow no back pressure on the media to allow it to be lifted up and rinsed out properly. We have everything installed, the drain line, of course for demonstration purposes, we just used the short one, but after you get the water lines all connected there, drain line connected and attached, you do want to make sure, by the way, that your bypass is in bypass mode. You can see as they are, those bypasses end to end, that means it's in bypass, so the water can flow in to the bypass and directly out of the bypass. So make sure it's in bypass mode here before you open the water to it. And before we do that, of course, we are going to plug it in with the transformer. A normal 110 outlet is where you plug that into. Great thing about the system that you got from us here, the 5600 SXT air injection system, is that we have pre-programmed that valve for you already. All you need to do is set the time of day, and that is very easy to do, as you just use the up and the down arrow key. So let's just say it's 3:30 p.m. You would just hold the up arrow key, and you can see there's a PM indicator in the top right-hand corner. There is no AM indicator, so just keep that in mind as we're moving the time of day. But if it's 3:30 p.m., then we just set it to 3:30 p.m. and tap the diamond button there. And it is pre-programmed, like I said, to work as that air injection filter for you. So just set the time of day accurately to your time, whatever that is, and you are good to go on that programming there. Now that you have the valve program plugged in, everything is connected and everything like that, what we want to do is let water begin to come into the system here. Before we do that, let's remember that all these filters would be installed after the pressure tank. So you have your well that's pumping to your pressure tank inside, and then it comes to the filter here. So it must go after the pressure tank. And again, we always make sure we're following those arrows on the bypass for the water in and the water out. So now what we would do is we will just turn this bypass here. We do the inlet first. We do the inlet valve first, and we're gonna let water come into the system here. Just slowly open that valve. You'll hear water rushing in there. Just slowly open it over the course of 5 or 7 seconds until it is moved into this position here. And then after you open that one, you can do the same with the outlet. Again, just turning it slowly as water is going to be filling up in the tank there. After you do that, you'll notice you'll hear the water rushing into the tank. Once it's filled up, we want you to do an immediate backwash. We want to make sure we're rinsing out that media, making sure there's no leaks in any of your connections and things like that, and we want to set it up and ready to go. It is very easy to do that. All you need to do is hold down this regen button here, or the diamond button is what we call it. You hold down for 5 seconds, and you will see BW will come flash on the screen with 4 dashes. Right now the piston's moving to location for that backwash, and you will hear water rushing to the drain. That is the first part of that backwash. And so we want to let it do this full backwash, and you want to take a look at the water out the drain line during this, and we want to make sure that water is clear. You know, it's all new media in the tank, so we want to make sure that gets rinsed out really well before you put it in line with the rest of your house. So as you can see, it does take a few seconds to get the timer to show up, and it'll count down from 15 minutes here very shortly. I can hear mine just click. You see your water rushing to the drain right now as it is rinsing out that media, water flowing through the tank here to rinse out the media. And again, what you want to do is follow your drain line to the drain. Take a look at that water. It needs to be clear for a full backwash there. So at first it'll probably be pretty murky and things. So we want to just keep rinsing that out. And as you do this, the next phase is where it's really creating that air pocket, which is the magic of these air injection systems, is really in that air pocket that it's developing. So that is the next phase here. But we want to let it do this entire thing, looking out the drain line, making sure it's clear. If it is not clear by the end of this, then we want you to do another backwash as well. Keep doing them until it is clear in line, out the drain line. The water's fairly clear out the drain line. And then what you would do is find a tap that is close to the filter and just open that tap and run that until it's clear as well. And that way you're making sure you're getting good clear water through the whole house. But new media is always a little bit murky, creates the murky water there at the beginning. So rinse it out really well. And then again, when it's clear out the drain line for a full backwash, that full 15 minutes there. So you probably got to do multiple, 2, 3 or more, however many it takes to rinse it out nice and clear out the drain line for that full 15 minutes. Then go ahead and open a tap that is close to the filter, not at the end of the plumbing there, at the end of the house, but close to it, and run that water. You might get some air in the lines, some murky water, run that until it's clear, and then you will be good to go. Now that you have everything installed, you've done that initial backwash, 2 or 3 of them, however many it takes to get good clean water. We just want you to know that if you have any questions along the way, please do not hesitate to call us. We do love to help our customers here at A+ Water. So if you bought this unit from us, please call us toll free at 877-477-5452 with any questions at all, install, programming, just general questions. So however we can help you, make sure you're getting great water in your home. We would love to help you. Again, that toll free number is 877-477-5452. Thanks and enjoy your water.